Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now today is a very exciting day, as I'm sure a lot of you are very excited for this particular device, that is the CMF Phone 1. Now I've actually been using this device for exactly a week now. So today's video is going to be sort of like a review of the CMF Phone 1 by Nothing, and I'm going to share with you a couple of things that are great and a couple of things that are not that great. Alright, so let's start off the video right off the bat because the price for this phone is actually RM1099 here in Malaysia. There's no 128. Straight off the bat, you're getting 256, which I think is great. But we are talking about a very nicely designed phone. Alright, so when I first removed the device from the box itself, guys, this is actually a very cool looking device. So let's talk a bit about the design. Now the whole idea here is about modularity, and basically you can add on different kinds of attachments. You can even change the back cover. So how you do that is actually quite clever. You have a couple of screws at the back which you have to remove, and then you can actually choose between one of these 4 different colorways. Now the default phone itself comes in this black colorway, but there's actually like the dark blue, light blue, and also the one in orange, which is what I have right here. Now the cool thing about being able to change this back panel is that you have full control over the look of your phone. So if you play around with all the colors, you can actually come up with very interesting kind of combos. So it gives for a very fun kind of look. Now there's another final small touch into these back covers, guys. So the black as well as the light blue is sort of like in this matte kind of feel, but the orange as well as the dark blue, now this one comes with sort of like a vegan leather kind of thing, so it gives you a bit more grip, and if you ask me personally, it feels better to hold. Alright, so that's the huge portion of this phone out of the way, that is the design. Now let's talk about how it actually feels like to use the phone. Right, so in terms of the processor, this is being powered by the Dimensity 7300 processor. Now what you can expect in terms of performance here is that the single core score is not up to the 7200, but the multi-core score is actually a bit higher. So just using this on the daily is actually quite usable. I would say that it's very snappy, it's quite smooth, and the reason for that is because of the Nothing OS or the UI that they are using here, which is actually very lightweight. So if you're just navigating through your apps, there shouldn't be too much lag. But again, remember that this is an entry-level processor, entry-level to mid-range at most, so you can't really expect like super powerful kind of performance coming off this device. Now when it comes to gaming, it's actually doing quite a decent job, and when I launched my Mobile Legends, I was quite surprised that the game itself supports the ultra frame rate as well as graphics. You don't really see that in a lot of phones here, so I'm quite surprised that it's optimized and suitable for this particular device, so that's great. But yeah, just overall in terms of performance, this is close to a mid-range kind of level, but don't expect like flagship level on a phone like this, the CMF Phone 1. Now in terms of the cameras at the back, we do have a dual sensor setup, and you might wonder like is it like the main sensor as well as the ultra wide, which is what Nothing has been doing for a very long time now. It is not. It's a 50 megapixel main sensor by Sony, which is actually quite a good one, but the second sensor is actually a depth sensor, which you will only use it when you're taking portrait shots. Alright, so in terms of the photos, how does it turn out? Well, again, I'm actually quite surprised at the kind of quality that we are actually able to get with the 50 megapixel main sensor. Again, this really depends highly on the kind of weather that you're facing. So during my trip to Bangkok, I was actually using this phone to take a couple of snaps, and during the day it actually performed exceedingly well, guys. I was very surprised about that. Pictures came in with a lot of detail. The color temperature is also very accurate, something that you would see on a Pixel kind of device. So it's actually a very good main sensor that we are having over here. Now, however, when it comes to taking photos of people, now this is where the phone struggles a little bit in terms of the skin tones. So taking photos like under the normal photo mode of people, you might see that the skin tones are a little bit off and it looks a bit darker than what it's supposed to be. So I actually tried out the portrait mode instead, and I realized that the skin tones there were a bit more accurate. So just in case you want to take photos of people and faces, you might want to use the portrait mode because it's a bit more accurate in terms of the skin tones. But otherwise, the main sensor is great for taking photos of things, subjects, but not that great for pictures of people with obviously faces. Alright, so that's just in terms of the cameras. Now let's talk a bit about the battery life. We do have a 5000 mAh unit in here, and it supports 33 watt fast charge. Now you do not have the charger in the box, they only give you the cable, understandable, but in terms of the battery life, I was getting about like 5 hours of screen on time. So I actually calculated this based on an estimate. So from 100% down to 30%, I was able to get like 4 hours of screen on time. And again, this depends highly on what you are doing on your phones. So if you're playing a lot of games, obviously the screen on time is going to be different, but this is just based on my real world use. So about 5 hours, I would say is quite average actually. And in terms of the charging, well, I was actually using my own charger since I don't have any official charger. It took quite a fair bit of time to actually charge up to 100%. I think from 30% all the way to 100. it takes close to about 50 or 60 minutes, so it's not that fast actually. I'm not sure if it's my charger or if it's just the phone, but I don't really charge my phone when it's all the way at 0%. So from 30 to 100 is close to an hour, and that's just based on my own charging experience. Alright, so at the end of the day guys, for RM1099, is this a good buy? My answer is actually pretty straightforward. I think it is a great buy, and for a couple of reasons actually. Number one, you have that very unique kind of design. Again, you can choose from all the different kind of cases, whatever color you want to have. You can also customize the different kind of looks all around. I think that is great because you don't see a lot of customizations available for most phones today. Now the second thing is actually in terms of the camera as well as the processor. For this kind of price, 1,000 ringgit-ish kind of phone, you're actually getting a very good main sensor as well as a processor that some other brands are actually charging more than 2,000 ringgit for that kind of phones. So yeah, this is actually quite a decent phone. Now the only slight downside I will actually comment here is actually in terms of the display. Now nothing says that this is a 120Hz AMOLED display. I mean, it looks alright, but I would say that the punchiness of the display is not the most saturated out there. The contrast levels, the whites is not as white as you would expect on a mid-range phone, but again, for the price of RM1099, it is definitely something that I can forgive. So that's just my thoughts on the CMF Phone 1. Buy nothing, by the way. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this kind of colorways. Which kind of color do you actually prefer? Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Do take care and stay safe. Bye bye.